He's here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sí, ellos se exponían.
His name is Jefferson.
Sí, pero o sea, yo digo que
Jefferson.
Here we go.
Go, Jefferson.
Go Jefferson, go! Go Jefferson, go Jefferson, go! Go Jefferson, go Jefferson, go! Go Jefferson, go Jefferson, go! Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Professor Jefferson Noel. I thought I was about to have the Mufasa moment. You know what I'm talking about? Awesome. I wish I'd known how to practice the dance at home. Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, today our guest speaker is Professor Jefferson Noel, and also professor of FIU and FIU at the School of Communication. That's right. And also the owner of Barbershop Speaks. So let's just jump right into it. Professor Noel, let the people know who you are and sort of a little bit about, how we're going to jump into Barbershop Speaks, but tell them who you are.
Well, first and foremost, can you give your professor a round of applause? When I was a student, I had a lot of great professors, but there weren't a lot of creative professors that went above and beyond and did everything they can to ensure that students had the best possible experience, even beyond the education that you're receiving, but also the experience that you're getting while being educated. And that's what your professor is doing. So please give him a round of applause for all of that.
He's trying to be purple, but that's all right.
So my name is Professor Noel. I'm actually a professor here at FIU, the finest institution in the universe. FIU, forward-thinking, innovative, and unstoppable. As you can tell, they pay me to say it now, but even before I was working here, I would say that all the time.
Well, your compensation reflects that. That's
correct.
Yes.
Correct. But in addition to that, I'm also the founder of Barbershop Speaks, where we host intelligent discussions inside barbershops and beauty salons. It's based off the idea that people don't go to barbershops only for haircuts, but they go for conversations, they go for community, they go just as a place to escape. And I'm also a 4-time published author.
Round of applause for that as well.
So my first book is called Powerful Presenting, and I actually wrote it while in undergrad. So when I was sitting in the same seat that you're sitting in, I was also a student here at the finest institution in the universe. FIU, forward thinking, I'm kidding. But I wrote my first book, and when I graduated from FIU, my bachelor's, I released the book that same exact day. So we had both a book release party and a graduation party.
Round of applause for that as well, ladies and gentlemen.
And then the same thing happened with my master's degree when I got my master's from, can you guess where? FIU, the finest institution in the universe. That's when I released this book right here, Go How to Cross the Starting Line. Because most people never finish because they never start, right? So that's why I wrote this book, Go How to Cross the Starting Line. And I have 2 more children's books as well. But there's a lot we can get into.
Yes, definitely. And so one of the things that really caught my attention with Jefferson, Professor Noel, I apologize. With Professor Noel is that both of us are professors, but both of us have something in common. We hated school.
Mm-hmm.
I say that again, really loud and clear. Even at the finest institution in university or at Miami-Dade College, where you make moves and determine the change that you're going to be and make, but we hated school.
That's right.
So talk about how you went from hating school to being a lifelong student and then becoming an educator.
Yeah. Well, what he's saying is true. I did hate school. Am I the only one here? Raise your hand if you feel the same way. Yeah, I don't want any grade deductions. So when I was, growing up, so I have Haitian parents, and both of us are Haitian, and Haitian parents, they instilled in you the 2 major values, hard work and education, right? Hard work and education. And as much as they tried their best to instill it in me, I was like a force field preventing the grasp or understanding of education. So I was never a great student. I was not a straight A student. I was like a straight B's and C's student, and especially had C's on the behavior side, because the teachers didn't understand my jokes, that's why. But the class did, and I would sleep every single day in school. Like, cause I'll spend all night playing Madden, playing 2K, and I'll beat any on 2K if y'all want that
Any
work.
video game players in your house? Make some noise for yourself.
Yeah, y'all don't want that pressure. Y'all don't want that pressure. And so I'll spend all night playing, and then I would sleep during class, and that was basically elementary to high school. And at one point, so during senior year, raise your hand if you're a freshman. Sophomore? Okay, sophomore. So y'all kind of remember your senior year in high school. A lot of my friends, they were applying for colleges. They were applying for universities. They were applying for scholarships. And they were getting notifications that, hey, congratulations, you are accepted to this university. Congratulations, you got the scholarship. And the notifications I was receiving was about my fantasy football league. Like, I was not applying to school at all. It was actually until the last day of school, my senior year. Last day of school, my senior year, I was in Mr. Kishman's class, this boring teacher. I don't even know what he was doing, to be honest. He was incredibly boring. So, and I was in class, and there was an announcement on the PA system, and it said, if you want to go to college, Miami-Dade College is here in the library, and all you need is a name and email.
Shout out to Miami-Dade College.
And I was like, I got a name and an email. So, and literally, that was my entry point into college. Literally, that was my entry point into college. I was like, you know what? My parents have been telling me this for a long time, so let me just do this thing. Went to the library, signed up, and 3.5 weeks later, I was in the college classroom at Miami-Dade. And I actually enjoyed it. It wasn't that bad, right? It wasn't that bad. I didn't have to wake up early, and because of that, I wasn't sleeping in class as much, although I was nodding off a lot. But while in Miami-Dade College, and although I was enjoying the experience, I still had an entrepreneurial spirit, and I thought there was a conflict between entrepreneurship and education. I thought there was a conflict. I had a zero-sum game mentality where it was an either or. Either I'm in business or I'm in school. And while I was in college, I just kept thinking, gotta do business, gotta get into business, can't be here. This school is teaching me how to be a consumer, but I wanna be a producer. And consumer, producer, I wanna be a producer. And after a year at Miami-Dade College, I dropped out. And I had zero intention on ever going back. Because I was like, I'm gonna get to this bag. That boy gonna make so much money, I'm gonna make Elon Musk sick. All right? And so I eventually started a business. Actually, right after I dropped out, I started a business. It was called Noel's Healthy Living. And I was 18 at the time. Actually, no. I turned 17 when I got, oh my God, I was 17. I was 17 at the time because I graduated. No, I'm not. I was 18. I was 18 at the time, started a business. And then 4 months later, the business failed. And it failed for a lot of reasons. We could get into it if you want, but it failed after 4 months. And I was like, man, this business failed. I don't want to go back to school. What do I do? And so I heard a friend of mine who was working valet. And valet is a tip job where you can make a good amount of money through tip. You get cash on hand. And I was like, I know how to drive. So I was like, I'll just do valet. So long story short, I did valet. It was a pretty good experience making the money, but terrible in terms of how I felt respected, right? Because people just throw their keys at you, or they'll just talk to you any type of way. They'll have you running in the rain for your car. It wasn't good, let's say, but the money was decent, right? And a few months after working valet, I don't know if y'all know of a person named Savannah James. Ever heard of her? She's the wife. Yeah, she's the wife of the greatest basketball player of all time. Yeah. Yes. And so Savannah, this was back in the time when LeBron was here, in Miami, bringing us to greatness. And she opened a store called the Juice Spot in Brickell. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm gonna visit one day. And then the next day, she actually put out, say, hey, if anyone wants to work here, then apply. And I was like, I bet. So after work, I went over there, changed my clothes, and I applied for the Juice Spot, and I ended up getting the job. And it turned out to be another great experience. The pay wasn't as good, but I was literally seeing the greatest basketball player to ever breathe, to ever dribble a basketball. I was seeing him every single day. And he actually had a nickname for me. He called me Jay. And it's probably because he did it on my phone. But I'm a fast forward. But that was a good experience, but then I got comfortable. And the comfort zone is a beautiful place.
Yeah, but it will kill you, though.
But nothing ever grows there.
Yeah.
Nothing ever grows in the comfort zone. And so although I was so comfortable that I became uncomfortable, and I said I have to make a move, I have to make a change. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna move out to a new city. Just move to a new city. But, as I said, I have Haitian parents. And the only two reasons to leave a Haitian parent's house is if you're married
Or you're dead.
If you're married, dead, or going to school, right? And I wasn't married. I wasn't gonna get married. I didn't have a girlfriend to get married to. And so I had to go back to school, and that was how I went back to school.
Wow, that's crazy.
That was the journey that brought me back to school, just as an excuse to leave my parents' house.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
For everybody here. So how many of us are comfortable right now? Raise your hand. Do you feel comfortable right now? You're good? You're good? All right. That's you need to not feel comfortable right now. Because comfort and complacency can result in some not the best things. Right? And so can you talk about how did being uncomfortable sort of catapult you to sort of Barbershop Speaks and beyond?
Yeah. But after I moved out, I went to Valencia College in Orlando. And that was essentially my wilderness because I didn't know many people there. I mean, my sister, she was at the University of Central Florida, but you know how sisters and brothers are, they don't want to be seen with each other all the time. So she wasn't with me all the time. So I was basically in the wilderness by myself, and it was in the wilderness that you'll find your true self.
Say that one more time.
It's in the wilderness that you'll find your true self. It's in the wilderness that you'll actually grow for real. Like every great person had to go through a wilderness and they had to come out on the other side. Even Jesus, who was God, went to the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. And so if he went to the wilderness, how much more should we put ourselves in a position to go to the wilderness? And I was getting stronger, I was getting wiser, I was catching up with how far behind I was because of my lack of value for education. When I was in Orlando, I was meeting people and I was having conversations with people, and I just realized I did not know enough. And that's because I was way behind my peers. I was way behind my peers because I was sleeping so much in school. I missed so much knowledge that everyone else had. And I had to play catch up, and thank God I did. And after I eventually graduated from Valencia College, I actually did have a girlfriend, but it was long distance because she was in Miami. And so and she told me the only way we could get married is if you have a bachelor's degree. And I was like, all right. And that's actually the reason why I came to FIU, because she was here. But by that time, I understood why education was so important. So when I got to FIU, I told myself I'm going to take 15 credits first semester, 18 credits second semester, 15 credits the third semester, and 12 credits the fourth semester, so I can get 60 credits in a calendar year. And So that's what I told myself, but also I still had the spirit of entrepreneurship. So I told myself when I come back to Miami, I'm not going to just go back and hang out with the same people and do the same things. I want to do something new. I want to start something. And I was like, okay. I was like, what if I just sit inside Starbucks and put up a sign that says, let's have intelligent conversations? And I was like, yeah, I might look weird. I was like, I might look weird doing
It's
that.
very uncomfortable.
You know, but I was like, you know, I kept thinking, what can I do when I come back to Miami? And one day before I moved back to Miami officially, I was in Miami getting a haircut, and there was an argument. This is a silly argument, by the way. There was an argument, who's better, LeBron James or Stephen Curry?
I was thinking Michael Jordan.
He's not even in the question. He's the greatest player of the 90s. And so there was an argument on who's better. I know this probably hurt your soul. It's hurting your soul. So it's an argument who's better, LeBron James or Stephen Curry. Terrible argument, I know, but they're so passionate about it. And I was in the chair and I was like, what would happen if we had the same energy, same passionate conversations, but about things that actually matter?
It's a great question.
And it was literally in that chair, I was like, Barbershop Speaks. And I turned to the person cutting my hair, I was like, yo, what do you think if we just, sometime after hours, I bring a bunch of people into the barbershop and we have a conversation? He was like, oh, I think that's a dope idea. Let me ask the owner. So I went and I asked the owner. The owner was like, okay, sure, why not? And I was like, all right. So boom, I had a venue. And then I'm terrible at making flyers, but I didn't have any money to pay anyone to make it for me. So I just made this Chachi flyer and I put it out there I think the date was July 9th, 2016. And we had our first event, our first conversation for Barbershop Speaks.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause. Today's topic is about networking, and you just demonstrated the power of networking. Sitting down, listening to people talk about LeBron James and Stephen Curry. Yes, there are different basketball players in different generations. Because it's like saying who's the best rapper of all time, and there's so many.
J. Cole. Sorry.
Different generations have. It's like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, right? Because every generation there's a new Vampire Slayer. Every generation there's another great basketball player, the greatest artist of all time. But we move on. But he did let Nas down, so
and he let Nas back up.
I'm just saying. Because Nas is my favorite MC.
Yeah,
I think one of the
Nas
best.
is nice.
But and it stands for next actionable step. And so our next actionable step will be talking about what does making moves in Miami mean to you, and what role does networking play in that?
Ooh, that's a really good question. There's a lot of ways we could go down the generic route or psychological route. And I didn't study psychology, but I love it a lot. And well, let me answer your questions directly, and I'll go down the lane of what I want to say on the psychology front. Networking is deeply important because we are social creatures. We are social creatures. And there's nothing we can do in the society by ourselves. There's nothing we can do effectively by ourselves. Yes, you can live in the wilderness and build a hut and live without electricity and live off grid, and if that's the lifestyle you choose, that's your life. But I suspect most of you will not do that. And because you won't, you're going to need people. And you're going to need people beyond the folks that you know now. Because if you only spend time and network with the people in your immediate circle, you're only going to go where they are, right? You ever heard the phrase, if you hang around 5 broke people, you'll be the 6th broke person. Hang around with 5 losers, you'll be the 6th loser, right? But if you hang around with 5 winners, then you'll be the next winner, right? A perfect example of that, and well, I know we might jump into that later, but you know, I met Professor Desouvre at the National Association of Black Journalists, and that was around, I think I joined in 2019, and I was around people on TV all the time. I never had any intention on being on TV. Never thought about it. Never thought about being on TV. Last year, I just got my own television show on the CW.
Round of applause, round of applause, round of applause.
So, and that's through Barbershop Speaks. But that's because of the networking that I did. And so first you have to understand, why is networking important? There are people that already got to where you want to go. There are people that already made the mistakes that you will eventually make if you don't know in advance it's a mistake. There's already people who fell for the trap that you will fall for if you don't learn where the traps are. There are people who already paved the path. They already made a path that's less stony, there's less rocks, there's less traps. And if you network with them and have conversations with them, and you build a relationship with them, then you don't have to fall for that trap. You can walk down the road that's already paved. It'll still be difficult, especially if you're the first person in your family to go down that road, but they'll help to make it easier. So that's number one, is understanding the importance of networking. Number two is understanding human motivation and human behavior. Now that's another thing, because networking, it's easy to meet people. It's difficult to build a sustainable relationship with someone. It's easy to meet people. There's people all the time. Y'all can meet each other now, y'all can walk outside and meet someone else. Yeah. You could go to Walmart, Publix, Whole Foods, and you can meet anybody you want. But to build a genuine and sustainable relationship with them, now that's a different story. And that's difficult in Miami. It's difficult. You'll quickly realize that a lot of people are only after their own interest. A lot of people think about themselves. Everyone think about themselves all the time. You are the center of your own universe. But you are not the center of everyone else's universe. You don't have this strong gravitational pull where everyone wants to be around you. And so you have to have the mentality of, what can I do? What value can I bring into this person's life where they can invite me into their universe so we can eventually build something together, right? And we can go deeper on that, or you can ask another question.
And so what Jefferson, Professor Noel is...
And then, sorry, you can sit if you want.
Yeah,
I know you come late. I noticed everyone comes late in my classroom, but he was polite enough to stand by the door. So thank you for that.
Put that over here. But yeah, so when you talked about the idea of networking, right? And the idea of sort of moving in that space and offering things to others, I think about how, you know, we're not the center of the universe, right? The universe is big. There's an African proverb, I think it's an African proverb, it's the proverb that was done in Mufasa, right? It says, if you want to go fast, no, Dr. King said this. This is an African proverb that Dr. King said. I recommend everybody please get this book. It's called Chaos, Where Do We Go From Here? Dr. King's last book that he wrote. The foreword was done by his wife. It's called Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community? Again, the title is called Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos, Community. Everything that's happening in society today is in that book. And the solutions to what's happening today is also in that book. So what he says is, if we go, the African proverb goes, if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go further, we go together. And that's the power of networking, right? And so we have just a few minutes left, and we have some giveaways. So the giveaways, the way the giveaways will be given away, I guess the first person with the question will get that particular book, and then the person with who can answer a question will get that particular book. So before we continue, ladies and gentlemen, before we end the round of applause, what tips do you have for our students here at the FIU Honors College in terms of how can they make a move within themselves to continue making moves in Miami?
You have to have a backbone of steel. Just because you think you have a great idea, that doesn't mean the world will think you have a good idea. Just because you are celebrated by people in your circle, that doesn't mean the broader circle of the world will celebrate you. You will hear no way more times than you hear yes, if you ever hear yes. That's the cold reality. That's the truth. I hear no all the time. All the time. And a lot of people don't write books about all the no's they receive. They write books about the yeses they receive. And so there's this illusion that there's some people that are naturally lucky and everything in life is being handed to them. But in reality, for most people, it does take a lot of effort and a lot of hard work and a lot of resilience to get to the finish line. And the first thing you must understand is that you have to get used to the word no. But worse than getting used to the word no, you have to get used to people pretending like they care. I'm lying?
You're not lying. And the word no simply means next opportunity to pour within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So no means next opportunity to pour within yourself.
That's good. And so that's number one. Oh, shoot.
That's Mia.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Hi.
Hello. And hello to you too, Mia. Number two is you have to know your why. You need to identify a reason to keep going. Despite the no's, despite the failures, despite the trials, despite the tribulations. You need to identify a why. For me, part of my why is knowing that my life has intrinsic worth and intrinsic value. That means the worth and value that I have, I was born with it. I don't become valuable because I write a book, or because I made some money, or because I drive a certain car, or because of where I live, or because of who I know. That's not what makes me valuable. But it's the worth that I already have as a human being. And that's countercultural to what's taught to you and me. They teach you if you want to be somebody, you need to have a certain amount of things. And because of that mentality, people start from a place of depression. They start from a place of not feeling worthy, and then they go and try to attain that worth. And they do that from a place of emptiness. But I do that from a place of being full. So part of my purpose is to impart into you that you are already full. You are already filled with purpose. That you are already worthy. You are already valuable, and your job is to take that value and bring it to the world. So that's my purpose. That's why I'm willing to hear 1,000 no's. That's why I'm willing to face a lot of failures. That's why I'm willing to go through the pain and struggle, because I know the message that I have that I hope that you all are receiving now, I know is valuable and is deeply important for your life.
Round of applause for that, ladies and gentlemen. And so that hard work must be led by hard work.
That's good.
So that hard work, I just came up with that too.
Talk about it quick.
It's gonna be on my t-shirt next time. So that hard work has to be literally led by your heart work. And before we continue, Askar, we got something, right?
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, push the chair back.
Oh, shoot. Y'all full of surprises, huh?
Thank you for your time.
Oh,
and
wow.
also for your speech.
Definitely, do you mind reading that, Askar? What does that say?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, Miami-Dade County Officer of the Mayor and Board of County Commissioners, guest speaker for Making Moves in Miami course, Florida International University Honors College. As a mayor and on behalf of the Board of county commissioners and the residents of Miami-Dade County, I take great pleasure in presenting this certificate of appreciation to you in recognition of your valuable contribution to our community.
Wow, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Jefferson Noel, thank you, Ascar, for your help. Any questions well, now it's time for the first question. Whoever asks the first question, you get the first book.
Wow.
Let's go. Oh, all right. And KJ has the first book. All right.
Wait, okay.
My first question